So, good morning, everyone. I will be extremely short. I will speak a bit this afternoon, and of course we will listen more to Lars Ågren, the senior executive vice president of the Stockholm School of Economics, and then of course our Speaker of Parliament, Ahlin. But I would like to extend my gratitude to the Stockholm School of Economics for being here and for the co-organizing of this. And Marie Söderberg, who is there, Professor Marie Söderberg, who has been absolutely instrumental. And of course, thank you to all of you who actually come here. Some of you have been traveling quite far, if not necessarily from Asia, at least within Sweden. And then, of course, I also like to thank Riksbankens Jubileumsfond, which is the Swedish Foundation for Humanities and Social Sciences, for sponsoring this. We're very grateful for that. We look forward for a great opportunity to exchange ideas. And I think it's important to think about, we're not only exchanging ideas between academics, but also trying to exchange ideas between policymakers and sponsors, and trying to figure out how to best lift the knowledge we have and to increase it, and also to be able to make it more attractive for our users. But without further ado, I would like to have Professor Lars Ågren to take over and say a few words.
Absolutely. And I should underline that I'm not a professor, but a humble administrative servant, although I once did a PhD, but not on Asian affairs, but on Swedish direct investment in the US, actually. So at that time, looking westbound, these days looking eastbound. And really no reason to say any thank you to us. I think we are the ones who are grateful for all of you being here today. That's a great opportunity for us. But again, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, friends of Asian Studies, most welcome to SSE and to this conference. And I will not keep you very long, but Marie has asked me to say a few words about our Asian connections, as it were, here at SSE. And thinking about that, I went all the way back to 1909 when the school was founded. And the idea behind the SSE was to increase the competitiveness of Sweden as a nation. Or in Swedish, för affärsverksamhetens höjande i vårt land. And already at that time, on the curriculum, there was the possibility of studying Russian. And one could, of course, ask oneself why. Well, at that time, there were a number of Swedish companies active in Russia, including the brothers Nobel and their oil extraction activities in Baku. As we all know, there were later on some disturbances in that area, and as a sort of consequence of that, we today have the Stockholm Institute of Transition Economies here at SSE, and we also were part of an effort to build the new economies around the Baltic, not least our effort to build a School of Economics in Riga, which we did quite successfully with the help of generous money from the government at the time. And part of this tradition is also the activities that we have in St. Petersburg and Moscow, where we run executive MBA programs. But going then further east, Staffan Burenstam Linder, who was a very visionary president of SSE, didn't only start the school in Riga, he also decided that we needed to have an institute studying Japan. We should learn more about Japan and learn more about Japanese business and Japanese society. So the European Institute of Japanese Studies was founded in 1992, I believe. So an anniversary coming up. And then somewhat later, it became apparent that we certainly also need to do something about China. And the Stockholm China Economic Research Institute was started in, I believe, 2005, thereabouts. So these two institutes are up and running. Both were founded by money from industry. In the case of the Japanese Studies Institute, we had a number of companies, Swedish companies, and a large number of Japanese companies funding it. And as far as the China Institute is concerned, the main sponsor so far has been Ericsson. So they are there, they are operating, and of course that's one of the reasons why you're here today. And what I would like really to end this very brief introduction by noting that, well, we were early in looking towards Asia. We are active in terms of studying Asia, but we, in my opinion, need to do more. Because although we do quite a few things, there are so many things going on out there, and it's so important for Sweden to be aware of these things and for Swedish students to become more knowledgeable about this area. So we are not really quite there yet, which is why I think I'm particularly happy to see this conference here at SSE as a step in the direction of doing even more in this area. I would have loved to be here together with you today, but unfortunately we also have a board meeting going on, and it would be, as a colleague of mine put it, a strictly career-limiting move not to be there. So will have to leave, but we would like to end on the note of really underlining how important we find Asian studies here at SSE, and wishing you a very successful conference and a very interesting and enjoyable day together here. Before leaving, I have the honor of introducing Ahlin, the Speaker of the Swedish Parliament, who will give the keynote speech here today. Most welcome, Urban.
Thank you, Lars. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to be here and delivering some introductory remarks on this conference. As you know, I was the foreign policy spokesperson for the Social Democratic Party before I became the speaker. But I was also, some years ago, a member of the board of STINT, the Swedish Foundation for International Cooperation in Research and Higher Education. And, you know, the main reason why I was there was, of course, that we, as politicians, wanted also to have an influence in how do we make opportunities for higher education and research to find the new fields, new areas of cooperation. And at that time, all universities and higher education here in Sweden, they had a great cooperation with UK and United States and so on, but not so much when it comes to the Asian countries. So I think actually STINT, maybe not myself though, but even though I was a member of the board, made a quite good job in helping lots of academics and also universities to come closer together with Asian counterparts. And in my capacity as a speaker, it was also a pleasure for me some years ago that I went to South Korea, to Seoul, together with, I think it was the 6 biggest universities in Sweden, and we organized a conference and met with counterparts in South Korea. And the universities were very happy that I was there as a speaker, because that, of course, forced the South Korean counterpart to bring some ministers of education and universities to come to the conference. So I have really been trying, to see that we in Sweden reach out, go out, have contacts, and find counterparts when it comes to the academics. And of course, I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying that the development in East Asia have bearings on what happens here in Sweden. It is, of course, extremely important what happens in Asia. And my underlining point in this is that we live in an era where there is an enormous shift towards Asia. It comes in military shift. The military weight goes to Asia. Political weight goes to Asia. Financial weight goes in the direction of Asia. Intellectual, it goes into the direction of Asia. And it's no wonder. The population is enormous. They have had an enormous economic growth. So there is a big policy shift from the Western world to Asia. We can argue about how fast it goes to Asia. Sometimes I meet people who says, this is going extremely fast, and they say, look, China has a GDP that is bigger now than the United States. I don't think that says, I don't think that means too much, actually, because I think it's a GDP per capita. that actually tells you more about the development and where the country is and so on. But there is no question, whether we like it or not, the shift is towards Asia. And for us, as a small country in the outskirts of Europe, it's extremely important that we connect to this, have research and education, and understand what is going on. We are an open society where we want to have this influx of ideas and cooperation. So for us, we need to know what is going on. What is the level? What is the knowledge? How can we interact with this? How can we benefit from it? How can our companies benefit from what is happening in Asia? And in my view, and I'm saying that even though I have a lot of research in Asia, I think the time when Asia will, be the absolute hegemony, the enormous power like we have seen the United States being for a long period of time, I think it takes a long time though. I mean, this is not happen next year. It's not happen in 10 years. It will take some time. The shift is there, whether we like it or not. So that's the most important thing. It will take time, but we need to prepare for what is coming, that's for sure. Together with our Nordic neighbors, because sometimes, Swedish politicians, and it's actually in my speech here, saying, oh, Sweden has an enormous impact in the world and so on. I don't like that myself, because I really think it is the Nordics that have an impact in the world. Sweden is a very small country, but together with the Nordics and what we stand for, we actually have an impact. Of course, Sweden has as well, but I rather talk about it in the Nordic terms. And I think Obama put it very rightly when he said that the Nordic countries punch much over its weight. And that goes also for Asia. When I have been traveling around there as a speaker, it's only 2.5 years, but I have had a wonderful cooperation with Silla, having official meetings in Japan, in South Korea. We have been to Vietnam, to Bangladesh, Myanmar, and so on. And I think that's, okay, it's 2.5 years, but we have at least from the Parliament trying to reach out to this area in a broader sense than before. And what is striking me is that these countries and people you meet and politicians, they have a very high regard about what Sweden stands for, but also what the Nordics stand for. What is the Swedish model, or rather, as I say, the Nordic model? What does it mean? How can we learn from it? Japan, easy, everyone understands, they come here and they check out how our elderly care centers works and so on. But all the other countries are also very keen on learning and having experiences from us. And I'm not saying that to be a big Swede, saying that everyone need to go to Sweden and learn from us. No, not at all. We are a very small place in the world. But we have something to offer. And these countries are interested in what we do and how we do things. And we should not underestimate the role that these Nordic countries and also Sweden have in this regard. So I think that is a good thing for us. We have good knowledge, we have well-functioning societies, very open societies. This is something they look into. And that opens doors for us when it comes to trade, when it comes to research and cooperation in higher education. So we shouldn't be shy, but we should also realize that they are many times bigger than we are. And maybe we, in the end, will be more influenced, more changed than they will be from us. But it takes time, as I said, but I think that is really important to understand. We need, of course, to make better use of the good knowledge that we already have. And I would like to say that as a foreign policy spokesperson, I knew all the time that we have very good research in Sweden when it comes to Asia. And I really want to say that to everyone here. I have met quite a few of you talking about what is going on in Asia, what is happening and so on. And I think we punch over our weight when it comes to this field as well. And I really say that as a good regard, best regard to all of you, that Sweden is at the forefront in knowing what is going on. Your institute is doing a wonderful job when it comes to lots of conflicts in the world and areas of certain interest. And wherever I go, people are talking about this institute that we are here now, the Stockholm School of Economics. They talk about ISDP, they talk about Chalmers, they talk about Karolinska and so on. So we are very much in the forefront of the thinking for many people around the world when it comes to Asia and East Asia, which is very good, of course. We are living in a globalized world where the international competition is extremely fearsome. And of course, Sweden needs to stay innovative. We need to have an innovation capacity. We need to have a strong development of our societies. And I think we can create this by cooperation between many different kinds of sectors. And here, as Niklas says in the beginning, that we need to find fields where academics meets business and where academics and business also meet the political level. I think that will multiply, the influence that Sweden has if we could have a better cooperation. And as I see it, this conference is a step ahead in this, saying that we should work closer together between the different fields. I'm happy to do that, and I'm reaching out to you as a speaker. If you have something that you think we can do from Parliament side to make it, some kind of cooperation easier for you to do, just give us a call. We are absolutely willing to do that, to try to reach out and be helpful for you. And as you know, East Asia plays an enormous role for us when it comes to trade. More than 10,000 Swedish companies do have trade together with China today. We don't need to look further down into our mobile phones. And I'm very happy to see that not so many of you are actually looking into the mobile phones. As a speaker, I'm looking out over the 349 members of Parliament, and I can see people really looking into the mobile phones all the time. So I'm happy to see that you're not doing that. But when you are, you look into something that is assembled, that is produced, that is made, of course, in Asia somewhere. So it's so obvious for everyone how closely connected we are and what is happening. But there are also major challenges for the future that we need to address and we need to think about. And of course, climate change is one of these things. East Asia has enormous trouble when it comes to climate change. I think this is an area where Sweden can offer a lot of cooperation and it sounds a little bit but offer a lot of help to these countries actually to find solutions to their enormous trouble that they have. And of course, China is one of the central actors in this. If we don't limit their emissions to the greenhouse gases, we are in a big trouble. So China is, of course, vital here. But we have new technologies. We are good in this. We have a good research. And of course, China is also very interested in having a cooperation with us in this field. But there are also other areas that is making me nervous, and that is, of course, the threat of peace. That the peace that we have are under enormous stress. We see it every day now when we read the newspapers. Trump is saying something, the North Koreans are doing something. And it's a very volatile situation where we don't really know what the heck is going on really here. And at least it makes me nervous because it seems like we have at least two players that are, not so easy to follow, not so easy to understand what the next step will be. And I think that is a dangerous mix though, when both are a little bit hard to understand what they're doing all the time. But there is also others. We have the populated islands or the non-populated islands that we have kind of a conflict about when it comes to South China Sea. For me, I think that is the most important threat to peace in Asia in the long run. I can't really see how that's going to be solved without, coming to a situation where the countries really stands against each other and telling, okay, here are the limits. We will not accept more than this. And to find a way in a kind of an international mediation or in some arbitration to find a solution to this will be of extreme importance for Asia. So there are threats in the region where I think we actually could also play a role and take a better part than we have done before. And of course, there are open doors when I'm saying that, of course, Sweden should be a knowledge-based nation. For us, it's extremely important to be on the forefront. We want to be an innovation country. And we are very happy that we have a population that is ready to embrace new technologies, modern ways of thinking, and so on. We are blessed with that we have a population that is extremely good in accepting new trends and new phenomena. And that gives us, of course, great advantages when it comes to relationship to East Asia as well. Your day of networking between the different sectors, I think it's extremely important. And I would also only like to say in the end that in an increasingly internationalized environment, we need collaboration between different sectors of society in order to jointly prepare Sweden for the challenges of the future. We need knowledge and an ability to act in order to become a strong actor in East Asia. And I think this is exactly what this conference is about. And we need to do this work together between our own different sectors. Thank you very much.